So for today's agenda, we will be having an overview of our student clerkship program. Number 2, les critères d'admissibilité. Number 3, the application and selection process. Number 4, the timeline of selection. Number 5 are actually current clerks who are clerking for this academic year. We have a few students who are present today, and our question and answer period towards the end. So, first of all, our clerkship program, which in its more formal name, the Court and Administrative Tribunals Clerkship Program. So this is a great opportunity for students to apply for this program because, number one, you will be able to earn credits. Yeah, okay, perfect. So, sorry about that. As I was saying, you could earn academic credits for this program as non-course credits, and you'll be working as a research assistant for a judge or member of an administrative tribunal in Montreal during the academic year. So usually clerkships are full year, so you'll earn 6 credits, 3 for the fall term and 3 for the winter term. And that's a minimum of 200 hours of work to be assigned for a clerkship. And as I mentioned before, it will count as non-course credits. And you have to be mindful of this because you do have 15 non-course credits during your BCL JD program. Like I mentioned, it is a 6-credit clerkship. However, you do have the possibility to apply for a 3-credit clerkship, so either for the fall or winter term. So that'll be around 100 hours devoted to the clerkship. For example, if you're planning to go on exchange for the fall or winter, or you'll be graduating on your last term, you'll be able to apply for a 3-credit clerkship. So in the past, we've had Cour du Québec in Montreal, Cour supérieure du Québec, Cour municipale de la ville de Montréal, who've granted 3-credit clerkships. So keep in mind of these courts or tribunals if you do plan on taking a 3-credit clerkship. We also have the Tribunal Administratif du Québec, who's also accepted 3-credit clerkships. However, it is based on the availability of the judge. So the number one, question of students is why do a clerkship? Why pursue a clerkship during your program? So number one, it's a good opportunity to have the behind the scenes of the Quebec judicial system. You'll also work with high-profile judges, and I know that students who have done clerkships said that it's a one-in-a-lifetime opportunity. So keep in mind when you do decide to apply. Also, it's an opportunity to enhance your research, legal writing skills, and ability to analyze legal problems. And also, it's a good added asset for your CV. It'll create a much more professional and competitive profile. Donc, pour avoir une liste pour nos cours et tribunaux, cette liste est aussi disponible sur notre site web. Donc, on a le cours d'appel du Québec. Excusez-moi, ça a été... Okay. Voilà. Bon, ok. Je ne sais pas ce qui arrive. Ok. Donc, on a le cours d'appel du Québec, Cour supérieure du Québec, Cour du Québec, Chambre civile, Cour du Québec, Chambre criminelle, Cour du Québec, Chambre de la jeunesse, Tribunal administratif du Québec, Cour municipale de la ville de Montréal et ensuite Tribunal des droits de la personne. Donc toute cette information se retrouve aussi sur notre site web et aussi je voulais vous dire que cette présentation sera aussi disponible sur notre site web. So a bit of an overview regarding the assessment for clerkships. As I mentioned, you will earn credits for this program as non-course credits, and it's graded as pass-fail. So you do have to submit midterm and final reports. So midterm is usually halfway through the clerkship, and a final report towards the end. So generally what a report is not, it's not signed off by your supervisor, but it's more for you, just to see how you're doing, how many hours you're devoting to your clerkship, if you have any concerns, comments. It's pretty much for us to see if everything is going well. And then your judges will be submitting a midterm and final evaluation form to us. Again, one during the halfway of the clerkship and one towards the end. And finally, at the very end of your clerkship, you'll have a term essay to submit, roughly 2 to 4 pages, double-spaced, and you will be discussing about a topic or a theme that you find that is of interest to you or significant, and you want to bring it up on your term essay, the challenges you faced, or what the needs of the court or tribunal that you would like to address for during your experience there. Donc, pour les critères d'admissibilité, before you apply, make sure you've completed your 2 full years. So all your first and second year courses have to be completed. Your minimum Cgpa has to be 2.70. Vous devez avoir complété votre cours de advocacy avant d'appliquer pour ce programme. So you do have 15 non-course credits during your BCLJD program. So make sure if you do apply for a 6-credit clerkship, you do have enough credits left. And so the application starts tomorrow. So at 9:30 tomorrow, which means March 22nd, we will open the form on our website, SAO Forms, Clerkships 2022-2023. As of 9:30 a.m., you may apply. And as of April 8th at 3 p.m., that's the deadline where you would need to submit all your documentation. So I will talk to you about what needs to be submitted later on. So once you're ready to apply, so like I said, on our SAO Forms, Clerkships, please submit your documentation by April 8th at 3. Vous devez indiquer vos 3 choix. So you do have 3 choices of courts or tribunals that you would like to apply for. If you don't want to include 3 choices, that's fine, but at least minimum 1. Thank you, Josie.
Sorry, she's gonna trip.
Thank you, thank you. Et vous devez aussi indiquer si vous voulez un clerkship, un stage de 3 ou 6 crédits. C'est très important en fait de mentionner, puisque sometimes we do get requests for 3 clerkships and they're not indicated on the application, so sometimes there could be a misunderstanding which we want to avoid. And then you have to upload your supporting documentation. Donc il faut télécharger une lettre adressant à chaque cour ou tribunal. On our website, you will see on the second page, to be exactly, under instructions, you will see the courts, the list of courts, and the name of the judge per court, where you will need to address to that specific judge. And all this information, again, is on our website. Then you would have to upload your CV. And finally, you would have to request your official transcript. Sorry. This is on our Minerva how to order e-transcripts. All the information, again, on our website. And on these slides, you could click on the link for this. So this is a very, very common question. The selection process, how does it work? So we do have a criteria to follow. Number 1, Cgpa. Of course, the minimum is 2.70. But again, it depends also on the number of high competitive students who have great, excellent Cgpa. So again, it depends on the number of students who are applying. So that's one of the factors. Number 2, you have to demonstrate any legal research and writing experience that you've had in the past. For example, if you currently doing a legal clinic course, if you are a senior editor for a journal, you should definitely bring that and specify it. And that's added experience, which means it's also for us a criteria based on the nominations. Also full year and single term placements, also your level of your studies. These are all factors on your nomination. And other relevant experience, if you have research assistant experience, either in law or elsewhere, this is also an added, I guess, points for our selection criteria. So just to give an idea for the selection process, once you apply by April 8th, you cannot resubmit if you made a mistake or cancel. It's pretty much done. So what happens that we will compile all applications, and if you are nominated, we will let you know, of course, and we will send this information to the courts and tribunal directly. Also, the courts afterwards will notify us, because at the end of the day, it's not us who decides, it's the court or the tribunal. So we will advise you right after their decision, and we will also advise you if you are not nominated. So whichever the case, you will be aware. Where's my water? Sorry, I think I left it, am I going a bit too fast? No, it's good? Great, thank you. Donc, pour le tribunal des droits de la personne, ils ont des critères assez spécifiques. Donc, il faudrait bien suivre ces critères avant d'appliquer. So, they did mention they would select one student a third year for a 6-credit full-year clerkship. So, please do not apply for a 3-credit clerkship. They really want a 6-credit full-year clerkship. Thank you, Josie. Sorry. So, number one, c'est la réussite préalable d'un cours sur les droits des libertés de la personne ou l'engagement à suivre un tel cours. Doit avoir suivi un cours sur la Charte des droits et libertés de la personne du Québec, soit s'engager à suivre un tel cours pendant le stage. Et dernièrement, la capacité d'aménager son horaire avec une certaine flexibilité. Les étudiants devraient pouvoir disposer au moins une journée libre par semaine au cours de l'année universitaire de l'année prochaine. So these criteria have to be fulfilled for you to be considered for this tribunal. So I wanted to give you a timeline because that's also a very common question. When will I find out? And this is all based on what I've seen last year, since this is my first clerkship application process. So by mid-April, we will be having the applications, we will be assessing them, selecting them, and by end of April, early May, the nominations will be sent to the courts and tribunals. And this is again based on experience from last year. Last year was the pandemic, as this year as well, but it was a little bit worse last year. So usually end of May, June, July, that's when students do get notified of the results. But the minute that I do get the results, I will let you know. Also, as I mentioned, we nominate you, but the decision remains with the courts and tribunals. And again, the number of space per court and tribunal depends every year. So some courts may accept 8 students, and then another year they may accept 5 students. So we don't really have, unfortunately, control over that, but we do want to nominate students, and we want you to be obviously accepted there, but again, it remains with the courts and tribunals. And also I wanted to mention, because I did get this question pretty often, we nominate to one court or tribunal. So if you have 3 choices, so if you get selected from us, you will get nominated, but let's say if the court does not accept you, we will not send another nomination for your second or third choice, for example. So I just wanted to make that clear. So application deadline reminder, April 8th at 3 p.m. on our website, SAO Forms. Link is here. You could even Google Clerkship SAO Forms, you will find it. And it's not a first come, first served. We equally look at the applications. Even the last person or the first person who submitted, there's no priority over that. So I just wanted to make sure you are aware of that. So in terms of questions, if you have questions, I know this is a lot of information. You could reach us. You could reach me directly or the sao.law@mcgill.ca. You could also book an appointment with me via Microsoft Teams. It's in our Ask, so all that information is there. I don't know why my voice is trembling. Sorry. Yeah, it is dry. So this is the fun part because we have two students who are currently clerking who are present today, which I'm very grateful. It was short notice, and I'm very, very thrilled to have them here. Janelle Denizet, who's clerking at the Cour du Québec Chambre criminelle, and Alio Shahuri, who's clerking at the Cour supérieure du Québec. So they're here, and maybe we could start by Janelle. Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Alyosha, great. Thank you both for coming. So,
I don't mind.
Yeah, Alyosha, you could start.
Sure. So I don't really know where to start. I guess I'll just talk a bit about my experience. It's been really great at the Superior Court. I've never really had the can you guys hear me okay? I've never really had the opportunity to see trials before, and so being able to, oh yes, thank you. Being able to do that on a regular basis has been really, really cool. My current position doesn't really involve much research because I only go maybe once or twice a week, and sometimes the trials are pretty fast-paced, and so usually my judge will just get the research team on it, which is nice for me because I don't really have to do much research and can just go and enjoy the process of seeing a trial play out. Usually I'll go in the morning and we'll chat about the case. Maybe I'll have gotten documents beforehand to kind of get myself situated. And then I'll go see the trial whenever there's a break or a recess or lunch. I'll go back to her chambers and we'll talk about it. A lot of the times she'll ask for my opinion, which is wild because I don't really have much of an opinion a lot of the times. And then there's been quite a few times where afterwards she'll send me her written judgment and she'll be like, oh, is this clear to you? Or is there anything you think I should rework? Do you think I should add anything, change anything? So it's been really great in that sense that I'm more than just a shadower and very much an active participant in what we see. And I have gotten to see quite a lot of stuff as well, so a very varied year that I've had so far. What else can I say? So my judge is really flexible on my hours, so usually usually it's 1 week on, 1 week off, so the week that she's on, I go to court, and then the week that she's off, usually she is writing. And so either I'll get her written stuff, or I've also helped her with other things. For example, she's writing a textbook. I've helped her with her textbook. So you can get involved in a lot of different stuff that your judge has for you. In terms of the application process, don't really know what made my cover letter a great cover letter. Maybe I would recommend just highlighting your skills and also how this clerkship fits into your long-term plans. For example, I knew I wanted to apply for clerkships after school, and so I mentioned that in my letter, I think, and it has actually been helpful. The interviews were last month, and it has come up a lot, so if that's something that's interesting to you, then definitely this is something that I would consider. And yeah, I guess I'll just leave it at that, and then if you have questions, we can just go from there. Yeah.
Cool. So my name's Janelle. I'm a third-year student right now. In terms of interest areas, I'm interested, broadly speaking, in public international law, immigration, refugee law, and criminal law. And then I was assigned to the criminal tribunal, and like Ali, I could not rave more about my experience. That's why I volunteered today, because I really have had just a wonderful time. And I encourage you to just in general to try to do as much experiential learning as you can, whether it's mooting, whether it's the legal clinics, whether it's the IRIP. I think that those opportunities are really, really valuable. I'm currently clerking for 2 judges, which is actually a really good arrangement. I was assigned to Juge Longo of the Criminal Tribunals, and in my first week we sort of sat down and talked about how we wanted the semester to look. And then she asked me, so how it works for criminal tribunals, I don't know how it works in other ones. Judges sit for 2 to 3 weeks, and then they get a week to deliberate and make decisions on the cases in front of them. And so there's usually about 1 week a month where I just wouldn't have anything to do. So we came to the arrangement that on weeks that I didn't, when she was in deliberation, that I might sit with the other judge if they had interesting cases in front of them. So that worked out really well. They're both super friendly, super concerned about like my schedule and my like learning and stuff like that. I feel like Ali alluded to that as well. So on a day-to-day, I show up to court. I listen to what is happening. Sometimes I have some documents to prepare and to read in advance. Depending on the day, I might have a legal memo or something to write after. Usually they give me a heads up, so I take more thorough notes that day. And then I always get the chance to sit with my judge after for 10, 15, sometimes 20 minutes just to discuss what happened in court that day. And much like Ali, my judge also always asks me what I think is going to happen. So she's like, am I going to give this person bail? Or do you think that this witness was credible? And I know that like she's a very experienced judge and I'm not going to impact her decision making at all, but she is curious to know how I would weigh in. And I'm happy to say that the majority of the time I accurately predict what she's going to do. And the times that I don't, she usually explains to me why I'm wrong, which is great because I can understand a little bit more her reasoning. She obviously knows the law exponentially better than I do. So that I find to be really, really helpful. In terms of the topics covered, so criminal tribunals, obviously, I've been able to see basically like a bunch of different types of offenses. So everything from sexual assault to attempted murder to extortion to trafficking. Also in terms of like the stages of the trial as well. So I've been to a number of bail hearings, one preliminary inquiry, which if you're into criminal law, go see a prelim because they're super, super interesting. The questioning is really different than the regular trial. I've been to the trial itself, sentencing. I've seen a number of pleas as well, both contested and uncontested. So really the opportunity to see like a bunch of different things, a whole like wide gamut of stuff. I'm just going to speak quickly to some of the assignments. So your types of assignments will differ depending on the court you're in or the judges that you have. My judge's approach, I have a friend who's in an admin tribunal. He's doing, I think, like tax. I don't really get that area. So he's doing something to do with admin and tax. And he gets like a weekly assignment and it's like a smaller legal memo, but he's constantly doing things for his judges. Whereas in my judges prefer to give me like one large task that I have a month and a half to do, but it's quite a bit of work, but then I have a long period to do it. So for example, in the first semester, I had a binder of like 600 pages of witness testimonial that I had to summarize in 10 pages, which I did. So that took a good chunk of time, but I could spread it over like 5 weeks, I think it was. I've done other stuff like just briefly legal memos on the fitness to stand trial, which is really interesting. The exception to the hearsay rule, different things like that. So pretty like nitty-gritty law stuff. Something that's fun about it that's different than classes is that you're going to be asked to research, give precedents and law and analysis on things that you've never seen in law school yet. So like I'd never did anything on the fitness to stand trial specifically, and then my judge said, I need you to tell me the precise state of law on this question, and you kind of just have to do it. And so I feel like that really mirrors the experience of new lawyers in a firm because you're kind of just like told you need to figure it out, and then you have to figure it out. So I think that's really valuable. So last big thing I'll say, and then I'll just like leave it open till questions. It's just if you're interested in criminal law specifically, I think it's a really good opportunity to see if it's actually a good fit for you. Because again, practice and your experience in class is just gonna be different. And for me, like, I wasn't really thinking of practicing in criminal law specifically. Now I know I probably don't want to. So it kind of confirmed the fact that I was already like leaning towards not doing it. The other thing with criminal law is you have to be pretty adaptable to different scheduling. More than once I have arrived at court thinking I'm going to be there for an 8-hour day, and by 9:20 there's been a joint plea and I just go home and I come back a different day. Or, you know, you show up and all of a sudden like the police found new evidence and the defense needs time to review that evidence, so you just like are done for that day and then you come back another day. So you have to definitely be like adaptable and flexible, and I think that's just kind of the nature of criminal law generally speaking. So yeah, so I'll leave it for questions if, yeah.
That's perfect. Thank you so much, Elish and Jeanette.
Sorry, I talk really fast.
No, this was very interesting actually. It's,
Yeah.
Oh no,
Okay,
well,
perfect.
since, yeah, you guys could absolutely stay. It's
Yeah, first
question
questions.
and answer period. So whoever has questions,
Don't be shy.
don't be shy. Yes.
Is the work done entirely in French, or is there a split between French and English?
So my work has been 99.9% in French. I think we had our first like English trial last week, but mostly it's been in French. But I think that very much depends on like what you're seeing, like who the clients are, etc.
Yeah, for criminal it depends. So I would say about like 70% French. You definitely need to like understand it. I'd say about like 10 to 15% English, and then there's a lot of foreign language of the accused as well. So the added translation in court, but the majority is definitely in French.
I also feel like it'll depend on what kind of like who your judge is. Maybe
Yeah,
I
if
feel like
your
that
judge
could
is more
also.
Anglophone.
Yeah, I feel like that could also have a play. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, I was going to say it depends on the judge,
Yeah.
but usually the French component is stronger,
Yeah.
I noticed.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
yes.
I have a question for you guys.
Yes?
Maybe it's not a very relevant question, maybe it's a very dumb question, but
No, not at all.
since there's a hierarchy quote-unquote system, will a hierarchy in our GPA apply to as well? Like if you have a hierarchy with 50
Do you mean like already if you have a high, if someone has a high GPA, will that not consider other applicants? No, no. So we have multiple criteria. For sure, GPA is one of them. But your experience in legal clinics, journals, if you've done term essays, I don't want to say it's equally, but you do get points for that. But for sure, your GPA is a big factor. But I don't like to disregard all those other components. Oh, we're just going to look at the highest GPA and we're going to nominate them. It doesn't work that way. So don't, if you think you have an average Cgpa, for example, don't think with that mindset. Just demonstrate your other experiences with your Cgpa, and again, we consider all criterias, I want to say equally, but almost equally, yes. So yes, so Cgpa is not the main factor to look into. You're welcome. Yes?
Would you say that the workload for a clerkship is more than 3 credit course during the semester?
I would say, so for my judge, yes, but not, depending on the moot, I know some of the moots can be really much more than the credits that you're getting. For clerkship, I thought it was very fair. And my judges as well are very responsive to my schedule. So the week of exams, I usually just say, I don't want to come in. And they're like, yeah, I prioritize your exams. So I feel like, at least in my case, they've been very amenable to my schedule.
I would say that in my case, it's probably less work than a class, but I think that just is because my judge is very chill and she doesn't want to give me research and is like, oh, you're busy, I'll give it to someone else. And so my tasks have very much been go to court for a day and then sometimes have work to do. But then there's a textbook. So I would still say it's less. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes?
Yeah, I was just going to ask, and this is more a question for you, Astrid.
Yep.
If there's interviews for the courts once the nominations happen, or if it's just based on the paper application and then you hear back?
That's a good question. Since it's my first clerkship application process, let me ask Josie.
So the judge may reach out to you, so either by email, by phone, or they'll ask to set up a Zoom. I have heard of this in the past, so it is a possibility, but most often than not, it's just paper application. And I just want to go back to the Cgpa question. So it really depends from year to year how students or which tribunals students apply for. So, it varies from year to year. So if your first choice, some students may apply for, give me an example. La Cour Supérieure is the place, everybody's first choice. Then obviously, La Cour Supérieure has become more competitive. So that also comes into play when we make our nominations.
Oh, I have another thing to say. We do nominate students, but again, the courts and tribunals have their selection criteria, which unfortunately we don't know. So I don't know how much the Cgpa also brings into factor, but thanks, Josie, for bringing that up.
Yeah, I also just want to make a quick plug for lower tribunals. Something to keep in mind is what you're looking to get out of the process. So higher courts are doing more appeals on law, right? Whereas in lower courts are testing evidence. And so if you're really looking to like learn how good evidence is brought to court, how lawyers properly examine, cross-examine witnesses, things like that, I feel like you're going to get a lot more of that in like the criminal tribunal than an appeals court. And I'm not saying either is better. I'm just saying it's good to have an awareness of what you're actually looking to get out of this process, right? Just a thought.
Anyone else? Yes? Like the French writing, how important as a component it is when you apply for clerkships. I know it depends maybe on courts.
So it does. So from my understanding and my limited experience with clerkships, it really does depend on your judge. But I do know that French writing, French comprehension is quite important. But again, it depends on the judge. So if you have a francophone judge, chances are that'll be a requirement.
Yes?
Just quickly on the question of French as well. So most of the trials I was in are in French. Both my judges are fully bilingual and both don't care which language I write in. So one of them's Anglophone who's also fluent in French and then vice versa, and they don't care as long as it's well written. But again, that depends on your judge. In terms of flexibility, I've been mostly in person in court. However, my judges are just awesome. I can't say that enough. In January, when things were really bad in Montreal, I didn't want to come back. I wanted to lounge around in Winnipeg for an extra month. And I told them I wasn't really comfortable coming to court, and they said that's fine, and they just sent me the online link specifically, so then I attended it like virtually for a month. I don't know what it was last year, but one thing I'll add though is like the courtrooms are quite spread out, and there's like 5 people in like a fairly large room, so generally even when I have been there I felt very comfortable because I'm far from everyone, so.
Yeah, I would say that there's a lot of flexibility as well. I think my judge actually, she's fairly newly appointed, and so she kind of goes to several different courts in Quebec. Sometimes she's in Longueuil, sometimes she's in like Saint-Hyacinthe. And I obviously don't go there, and so whenever she's super far away, I just go on Teams. And if she's in Montreal, I just go in person. But again, that's my choice. She would also like very much gladly have me on Teams if that's what I prefer. So there, I have that flexibility.
Yes? Good question. Yeah, that's good.
I'd say yeah. Yeah, you should be dressed like a lawyer.
My judge said that I didn't have to. Personally, she said that it was fine as long as I don't wear jeans. But again, I guess it depends.
I guess it depends. For me, it's just like a default. If you're going to court, even just as a student, you should, in my opinion, look well placed. But that's like, I guess, your call. If you, yeah. They're not gonna kick you out of court for wearing sweatpants. But like, I don't know if your judge would like that.
No, definitely not sweatpants.
Right? Or like exaggeration. But yeah.
We're good? Yeah? Oh, yes?
Does the clerkship continue all the way through December, or do you see a break now?
So the clerkships, it's fall and winter. So you wanted to know if it happens during when?
Like all throughout December?
Oh, December.
Stop after exams, is that also just the clerkships?
Does it depend? Because usually us, it's suspended at a certain time. Like, let's say your report is due on December 15. Usually it's pretty suspended during Christmas and exam period. But I don't know if that's like based on courts or is this the usual?
That's right.
Yeah? Okay. So, yeah, it is suspended. Yes?
Je ne sais pas si vous êtes en mesure de répondre, mais
Oui.
dans votre expérience, est-ce que vous savez si des étudiants qui sont prêts à offrir un semestre versus des étudiants qui sont prêts à offrir l'année au complet, donc 2 sessions, est-ce qu'il y en a un des deux qui sont plus en demande ou bien ça revient au
Donc, généralement, les stages sont offerts pour toute l'année. D'après mon expérience, ce que j'ai vu l'année passée, on avait juste quelques étudiants juste pour un trimestre. Donc, c'est sûr que les juges préfèrent avoir l'année complète qu'un trimestre. Donc, les chances d'avoir l'année complète est plus élevée. Est-ce que ça a répondu? Hein? Excellent, excellent. Well, if there's more questions after the mooting session, we'll be happy to. I just noticed it's 2:10 already, and there's the mooting. But questions by email, Teams. Thank you so much, Alyosha and Jeannette. Thank you.
So I just wanted to thank everyone for being here. Astrid and I thought it would be a great idea to combine the two info sessions, and we're happy to see you here. Please, on your way out, grab a snack and a juice. Also, I wanted to say that I just wanted to say that this is Astrid and I's first information session in person since pre-COVID. In fact, in 2020, the Moot information session was the last one I gave before we went on lockdown. So thank you so much for being here. And I also want to take this opportunity to introduce you all to our Student Affairs Office Manager, Brittany Williams, who's at the back there. And I know, Brittany, did you want to come on down and talk a little bit about clerks and just say a few words? Thank you, Brittany. Okay, so I'm going to introduce myself again. I'm Josie Rota. I am a student affairs consultant here at the Faculty of Law. I am the upper year advisor. Some of you may not know this, but we are situated on the 4th floor, room 433. Both Astrid and myself and Brittany, along with 3 other student affairs coordinators. So our office hours are Monday to Thursday from 1 to 2:30. So, if you're at the faculty and you want to come say hi to us, or if you need any information, we're happy to see you in person. So I'm going to get started with the competitive mooting session today. And we're going to be talking about how to reach us, the overview of mooting, eligibility and criteria, the application and the tryouts, the moots available to you, and we also have some mooters who are currently actually most of the moots are complete for this year, so they'll be able to talk to you about their experience and how things went this past year with their moot. So anything related to moot, you contact myself. I'm the main contact, but if there's anything that you would also like to discuss, if you don't want to talk with me, you could always reach out to Brittany or send an email to the SAO. We'd be happy to address any concerns or questions that you have. So why competitive mooting? So a lot of you are going to hear it's very demanding, but it's exciting, it's rewarding. It's an opportunity for networking, team building skills. You develop your advocacy skills. Obviously, you get to present a case before experienced judges. Selected students represent the faculty at Canadian and international mooting competition, which is very exciting. Students who are interested in analyzing and researching complex legal problems, developing arguments and advocacy skills. So in order to be eligible to apply for a moot, you must have completed advocacy, so Prac 200. Students must be entering in their 3rd or 4th year. And if you're going to participate in a moot, you cannot go on exchange. Although the competition takes place in the winter term, it really is a year-long commitment. Usually the problem for your moot is released in the fall. So that is a big part of the mooting competition, where you work on your factum, which is usually due in January. So that is why we say, unfortunately, if you're going to participate in a moot, it's not the year to go on exchange. Again, same thing as the clerkship. You all have 15 non-course credits for your BCL JD. So be mindful, if you wanna do a clinic, a moot, a clerkship. If you're already on a journal, you need to kind of take all of these credits into consideration when you apply. So managing your academic commitments. So as I mentioned, for the moot, it is year long. So a lot of students, will say to me, "Oh, Josie, where does most of the work fall? You say it's year long." So you have to kind of figure that the moot does give you a lot of flexibility in terms of, you have evenings and your weekends and, holidays or whatnot, to meet with your team and, work on the factum or practice for the competition. So you have that flexibility, but because the competitions take place in the winter, that's when I would say to a lot of students, well, you may want to register for 12 or 15 credits this term, or do a lighter load, or okay, if you're going to do that 15 or 16 credits this term, you may want to look at the methods of evaluation of your courses, right? Are a lot of these paper-based? Are there final exams? Just kind of so that you're able to not clear your schedule, but to have like a lighter load, and that you can focus and devote some time to your moot. So your course registration, so credits are moots are 3 credits. So you have the option of either allocating the credits to the fall or the winter term, or you could split the credits in half. So 1.5 in the fall, 1.5 in the winter. So once you're selected for a moot, I will be sending you an email, and you will be able to to say to me, "Josie, this is how I want to allocate my credits." So again, you register through Minerva, it's pass-fail, and your grade only appears in May, since it really is a year-long course. So the moot application and tryout dates, so like the clerkship, the application will be open tomorrow on our website. I will be sending an email to all of you probably tomorrow morning, reminding you that the application will be open. So you just complete the form, you rank your moots top 6 choices, you upload your CV, and new this year I've also included availability to provide your availability for moot tryouts. So the moot tryouts this year will take place from April 4th to April 8th. There are various time slots that will be provided to you, so don't forget to fill out that section. So the Google document won't be available. It was a last-minute change that I made this morning. Apologies for that. The material for the tryouts will also be available following the March 30th deadline. So usually you'll have so what it is the Alaskan problem, because it is the only bilingual moot where you have the problem in French and in English. So a section of that will be highlighted, and you will be asked the question that you will need to argue for about 10 minutes. So the judges will be current coaches and current mooters. We've decided that to host the tryouts through Zoom, since it's been very successful the last 2 years, and we did have a high demand for it to be virtual instead of in person. So these are the general moots that we participate in. The list is very long, but I just want to be very honest and clear that we usually participate in about 10 to 12 moots. Unfortunately, we only have the budget for that. Keep in mind that the faculty does cover your travel and accommodation expenses, as well as your registration for the moot. So therefore, we do have a limited amount of moots that we participate in. Now, typically how it works is demand, right? So if there are a lot of students who want to participate in the negotiation moot, you know, and we're able to make a team of 4, we will send a McGill team. If there's only one student who ranks at number 5, unfortunately, we won't be participating. And unfortunately, that information is not available until I receive all the applications. So, you know, again, the very popular moots that we participate in are the Davies, the Williams, the Fox, the Gale, the Laskin, the Mignot, the Vis, the Sapinka, the Winkler, I said, the Diversity. And I also wanted to say a quick word about the Aboriginal Moot. If you are solely interested in participating in the Aboriginal Moot, you do not need to submit the application, nor do a tryout. You simply send me a quick email with your CV and a brief summary of why you'd like to participate in this moot. We usually take we usually send 2 teams of 2 students to participate in the Aboriginal Moot. However, if you plan on doing the Aboriginal, or you know, and like to rank a few others, then you have to complete the application. So the tryouts. Alors, comme j'ai dit, ça serait, les juges vont être les étudiants qui ont participé à une plaidoirie cette année, et les coachs également. Donc, habituellement, ça va être 2 ou 3 personnes. Comme j'ai déjà mentionné, les trials vont être via Zoom ou Teams. Vous allez recevoir un courriel de ma part, et évidemment, ce que les juges recherchent, c'est une maîtrise des arguments, présentation logique, convaincante, capacité de répondre aux questions, originalité, qualité de l'expression orale, diction, clarté, vitesse, respiration, modulation et thème de voix. Donc, c'est vraiment pour avoir vraiment, like, really to see how well you develop your argument in terms of the question that will be posed based on the Laskin problem. Questions? So we also, as I mentioned, we also have some mooters. So we have Andrea, who participated in the Jessup, Emily, the Laskin, Justin, Diversity, and Leonie, the Mignot. I'd just like to mention that this year, I guess 2020, has been a great year for the McGill Mooters. Each one of these teams did quite well in their competition, so I'd like to congratulate them at the same time. So last year, so just to give you a bit of an idea about our moot competition, last year, all our moots, well, in 2020, obviously, all our moots went virtual. Last year, they all were virtual. This year, it was kind of a hybrid. Some ended up being virtual, but a lot of them did end up being in person. So they'll be able to talk about that experience as well. So I don't know if you wanted to come on up and answer questions or talk about your experiences.
Ah, ben, je peux commencer le faire en français. Un peu de diversité. Donc moi, j'ai fait le concours Mignot, c'est un concours en droit civil. La première chose que je dirais, c'est, je pense que de toutes les activités cliniques, c'est celle qui est le plus sous-créditée, mais je pense que c'est celle qui est la plus rewarding au final. Si tu te fais des amitiés que tu vas pouvoir développer pour toute la vie, mais c'est ça, il faut quand même considérer que c'est crédité pour à peu près 3 crédits, mais donc tu peux décider de diviser comme tu veux. Donc tu peux décider de mettre 3 crédits à l'automne ou 3 crédits à l'hiver, dépendamment de ta charge de cours ou dépendamment à quel point ça va être intense. Puis tu peux parler aux anciens et anciennes pour savoir un petit peu la distribution de la charge. Moi, ce que j'ai décidé de faire, 1,5 crédit, 1,5 crédit pour chaque semestre, mais c'était beaucoup plus de travail que 1,5 crédit. Je dirais que c'est à peu près comme pour un cours à peu près, mais comme j'ai dit, c'est une des expériences les plus enrichissantes. Pour les minios, ça commence généralement au mois de septembre, où on reçoit le problème. Puis comment ça fonctionne souvent, c'est que, mettons le minio, on nous est envoyé un jugement de la Cour supérieure, puis c'est un cas qu'on plaide devant la Cour d'appel. Et donc, on reçoit le jugement en septembre, puis il va y avoir les intimés et les appelants. Donc, dépendamment de quelle équipe vous représentez, eh bien, 2 personnes vont travailler sur leur mémoire qu'ils vont envoyer. Puis ça, c'est vraiment le minio. Je ne sais pas si les autres, c'est comme ça. Donc, une première équipe va faire les appelants. Donc, vous travaillez pendant à peu près 1 mois. Ensuite, vous recevez le mémoire des appelants d'une autre équipe universitaire. Et vous allez devoir rédiger le mémoire des intimés. Donc, à peu près toute la session d'automne est plutôt consacrée à l'écriture des mémoires. Et la session d'hiver, eh bien, c'est là qu'on rentre en répétition. Et c'est là que vraiment on va faire toute la partie qui est plus plaidoirie. Puis là, je ne sais pas si vous avez vu là, dans tous des trucs de Tryout, genre qu'est-ce qu'on évalue, l'aisance, la capacité orale. Puis là, je vous vois figé de comme, oh my God, serais-je capable de le faire? Je vous dis, c'est incroyable la progression qu'on a tout au niveau de notre capacité à écrire. On ne sait vraiment pas écrire avant d'arriver, puis au final, on arrive à produire quelque chose qui est plus ou moins décent. Et aussi, au niveau de notre performance, de notre délivrance, on gagne une telle aisance. C'est vraiment hallucinant. Donc moi, j'ai fait cette expérience-là. Je ne savais pas du tout à quoi m'attendre. J'ai fait les tryouts un petit peu au hasard, comme un petit pari entre amis, puis finalement, ça a été vraiment la plus belle expérience de tout mon parcours. Et puis aussi, les relations qu'on forge avec les coachs, c'est vraiment le fun. C'est des gens qui viennent du milieu professionnel. Par exemple, le Minio est coaché par des avocats de Faskin, donc on va à leur bureau toute l'année. C'est vraiment le fun si vous voulez justement développer des relations professionnelles également. Mais j'ai trouvé aussi que juste cette expérience, autant au niveau... oui.
Et c'est des étudiants, des anciens de McGill en droit, donc.
Exact aussi. C'est pas juste des inconnus. Puis ce que j'ai trouvé vraiment le fun aussi, c'est que je trouve que c'est des skills qu'on apprend qui sont vraiment transférables dans plein d'autres domaines. C'est pas juste une question de comme tu fais comme une espèce de pièce de théâtre une fois. Par exemple, après j'ai fait le processus d'entrevue pour la Cour d'appel du Québec, puis j'ai trouvé que être capable de me faire challenger sur des questions, puis ou bien de réfléchir à un jugement, ben c'est quelque chose qui m'a beaucoup aidé dans mon processus d'application, puis c'est quelque chose qui peut vous aider également dans le processus de course au stage ou peu importe. Donc, c'est vraiment des skills qui vont vous aider toute votre vie. Puis j'ai beaucoup parlé, donc je vais laisser les autres y aller.
Hi, so I'm just going to address a couple of things. Leonie covered a lot, but I would echo that my experience with Alaskan was very similar. We received the problem actually really late. We received it near the end of October, so that was a little stressful. And it was kind of like we wrote a lot of our factum. Our first draft was done before Christmas. We reviewed it in January, and then February hit, and we were just practicing. I would just say a couple things to add on to Leonie's experience. The first thing, if you're considering doing more than one non-course credit, it's not an either-or situation. I was doing a legal clinic at the same time. My colleague Niamh was working at the Superior Court of Quebec, and I believe another one of my colleagues was working at a legal clinic. So I think that all of these experiences offer slightly different skills and opportunities, and I think it's good if you can take more than one. So don't think of it as like a zero-sum game. When I came into law school, I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do, and litigation was on the table, and this was a great experience for me to test litigation. As it turns out, I really liked it, and I have a job now lined up in litigation. So if you don't actually have any mooting experience, like in your undergrad or in other programs, maybe high school, debate, anything like that, that's totally fine. I came in completely inexperienced, I would say, and I worked with two of my teammates were experienced mooters, and then 2 of us weren't. So we kind of had like a trade-off where they taught us a lot, and we helped a lot more with like the maybe more technical research aspects. And that was really, really rewarding. I think ultimately this is a professional degree, and some of you will go into litigation, so it's a great opportunity to kind of get your feet wet for what your life might be like outside of McGill. I would also echo that it is a lot of work. I would say that it is more work than a single course. However, I would also say that it was probably the thing that I regularly put my time towards with like no thoughts to how much work it was. I really enjoyed the experience. I regularly was calling my teammates on the weekend. We would look through like deep dive into laws, and we would just be chatting for hours. And that didn't feel like it took up a lot of time. It was super enjoyable. Part of the reasons that I chose the Alaskan was specifically because I love constitutional and administrative law. So I would recommend that if you're really interested in an area of law and you're kind of waffling on like whether or not you want to dive into it, it's a great opportunity to examine a problem really deeply. The final thing I will say for the Alaskan specifically, it is 2 teams of 2. So we have the appellants and the respondents. I was on the respondent team. At least with Alaskan, you work as a team of 4. So even though we each wrote our own factum, we were constantly in communication with each other, and we're editing each other's factums and bouncing ideas off of each other. I think that makes for a really strong team, and it's a great opportunity to get to work really closely with some of your colleagues. So I think those are my main takeaways from the Moot, and I'd highly recommend you apply even if you don't have any experience mooting.
Hey everyone, so I participated in the Jessup Public International Law Moot, and the one requirement for this moot is that you do have to complete the PIL class beforehand, but it was a really amazing experience. I really enjoyed it. If you're interested in knowing how states like to dispute each other and all the little different rules and different tactics they get up to, especially at the International Court of Justice, is really an amazing experience. I'd like just to echo kind of what Emily said. In terms of receiving the problem, we did receive ours in late September, so generally a little bit earlier than the other moots. The Jessup Moot is a bit of a higher workload, so I'd say while it is credited 3 credits, probably a little bit more 6, sometimes even 9, but everybody chips in, and it's a really good experience overall. In terms of research, a public international law is a little bit different from the other domains, so there's specific research databases that you can access, but I find also that our coaches, one was a PhD student, one was a Stikeman Elliott's associate, so the PhD student was really great at pointing us towards the right sources, and especially because public international law there is a certain limited number of cases to cite. A lot of reliance is also on like theory and doctrine as well. So this was a great experience just to kind of read a wide variety of sources and be able to put that together in a coherent factum. So in terms of the competition itself, the Jessup is an international law competition, so there is the Canadian rounds, and if you advance past that, there is international rounds that take place in April. We did not advance past the national rounds, but we had a really great experience. We got to moot against Windsor, UFT, Winnipeg, and Victoria, BC. So just you get to really meet a lot of competitors from all over the country. It did take place virtually, but it was a really amazing experience, especially as our team. It was a team of 5, but we divided into appellants and respondents, and so you get to be you really get to I feel like bond with your teammates and put forth arguments that are convincing. So in terms of timeline, we received our problem late September, and we were scheduled to have a draft due before Christmas, and because the Jessup factum or memorial is due early January, we had to do some work over Christmas time in order to prepare those drafts. So it's just something to be mindful with the Jessup because it has an earlier timeline, and we are pleading in early February that it does cross over the break somewhat. But I really found that Jessup really fueled my passion for litigation. I didn't know what I wanted to do coming into law school, and I'm still figuring that out, but I find just that especially oral advocacy rounds really piqued my interest in that on-your-feet thinking, being able to answer questions in a deliberate and articulate way, and also just being able to really become passionate about your problem and really become, step into the role of an advocate was something that I really found was unique to my law school experience. And yeah, so in terms, our problem I found was really interesting. It concerned like cybersecurity, freedom of expression, diplomatic immunity, so very relevant international concepts that will often reflect what is going on going on globally in the world as of right now. So some of you may have seen that Ukraine submitted to the International Court of Justice for breach of certain obligations by Russia. And so it's kind of seeing what the International Court is doing is very much reflected in each year's justice problem. So it's really interesting to be able to partake in sort of like a very relevant discussion in that sense. Yeah, that was pretty much it. I think in terms of coursework, I think definitely there were some students, one was on a journal, one was doing like a clerkship and a clinic, and I was doing a clinic last semester. So definitely there is space to pursue those other non-course credit opportunities. I think I would just, because a lot of focus is on January and February, a lot of time is devoted to the moot. So this would be, meetings like every week. When we were practicing for our advocacy rounds, we'd meet like 2 to 3 times a week for several hours in order to prepare that. Just to be mindful that for the winter semester or for the fall semester, I would definitely take like a bit of a lighter course load. 12 credits is totally fine. I think most of our teammates, we allocated 3 credits to the winter semester, knowing that the bulk of the work would happen in January and February. And so, yeah, that's kind of what my takeaways were from the Justice Moot. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask us at the end.
Yeah, what they said, like, it's a really cool experience, and yeah, I mean, we could get right to the questions. I'll just say something, I guess, about the diversity moot, because it's a bit unique in the sense that it was basically half critical race theory. So if that interests you, that might be something to look into. There was a note that I saw earlier, though, I was confused about, because I think it said that BALSA chose selected candidates, I think, on your list.
Yes, so we do.
Which I'm not part of, actually.
So the last 2 years, so usually it's 4 students for the diversity moot, but in the last 2 years, we have received permission to add a 5th member, and usually that member or one of the members is recommended to the faculty by the Black Law Student Association in collaboration. So go ahead, Justin.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
And then when we're done with question, I just have 3 points I wanted to highlight just before we go, but definitely ask your question.
Yeah, so Julia was the 5th member, and she acted as a researcher, so I think that's what that refers to. So if that was confusing to anybody, which is a really cool position. In a lot of ways, I might have wanted to do that. But it was really great to moot in every possible way. It's a lot of work, obviously. Our factum was due on January 4th, so I rang in the New Year's and then went back to writing my factum. Just keep that in mind going forward. But yeah, if there are any questions, I guess now's the time. You guys want to come up? And I got to wear sweatpants for most of the process, so that was really great. Yeah.
Yeah, so I can speak to that. So we were really in close contact with the coaches. I'd say during the fall semester, we had a meeting every 2 weeks, sometimes for a few hours. One of them ended up taking the whole day, but it's all good. We brought snacks. So it was, I definitely say, because we had a PhD student, it was like she was always a little bit more accessible in terms of like being there, answering questions and providing the research. And then our other coach was probably more like stylistically focused, so she would take charge of like a lot of the editing, a lot of like the verbal performance and delivery and whatnot. So I'd say generally, so one of them was a U Ottawa grad and the other one is at McGill. So they definitely brought different styles and perspectives to the table. But I'd say it was a very kind of close relationship, especially as we get to the oral advocacy rounds and you're seeing them many times a week. But we'd keep in close contact and we'd have a group just to message and to provide updates in terms of deadlines and logistics. So.
I can speak to my coaches. They were huge sweethearts. They were really lovely. We worked with Woods, which is a firm that specializes in litigation. So they helped, like I did a lot of the research. We probably met every other week in the fall. And then when it came to really like hammering down the factum, we met about once a week for about 1.5 to 2 hours. Because we were mooting online, we actually preferred, when we were practicing, to practice over Zoom because we thought that best replicated the experience of actual mooting. But the experience overall with our coaches was like phenomenal. One of them is quite young, actually. He was younger than almost everyone on our team and just went straight from Cgpa into law school and on to mooting. So he was very like relatable, and the other one was like a hockey dad and like had always like words of encouragement, like you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So it was really lovely.
Les nôtres étaient vraiment des amours. Donc, on les rencontrait chaque semaine. Ils sont devenus genre vraiment presque des amis. On écoutait Occupation Double puis on s'en parlait. Non, mais pour vrai. Mais ce qui était vraiment le fun, ça se voyait que les coachs, on les rencontrait chaque semaine. On s'écrivait à chaque semaine, même plusieurs fois par semaine. Puis rendu au niveau des plaidoiries, on les rencontrait parfois 2 fois semaine, parfois en personne. La plupart des choses se sont faites en personne, même si notre moot s'est finalement tenu en ligne. Mais ce qui était vraiment le fun aussi, c'est que nous, ils nous faisaient pratiquer devant d'autres personnes. Donc le concours Mignot, je pense que c'est un des seuls qui font ça, mais les coachs invitent des juges des cours supérieurs, mais également des juges de la cour d'appel pour qu'on aille plaider devant eux. Puis au final, c'est une très belle expérience parce que quand on plaide, par exemple le Mignot, la finale se plaide devant des juges de la cour d'appel, la première ronde devant des juges de la cour supérieure. Fait que ça, juste en soi, c'était une super expérience aussi. Puis ça se voit que puis je pense que tous les coachs tiennent vraiment, vraiment à cœur la réussite de leurs étudiants.
She was great. It's really good.
Oui, c'est vraiment une super expérience pour avoir justement une expérience très, très civiliste. Je pense que comparativement aux autres universités, si par exemple vous voulez faire le barreau du Québec, on arrive au barreau puis on est comme « Ouh, what's a code civil? » tu sais, à ouvrir. Fait que ça, c'était vraiment le fun de vraiment se focusser sur un seul système juridique, puis en apprendre aussi sur différentes facultés de droit québécoises. Fait que c'est sûr que c'est pas la même expérience que, par exemple, nos amis qui sont en Argentine en ce moment pour le Moot, puis qu'on est comme « Oh my God, pourquoi c'est pas nous? » Mais c'est très, très le fun aussi parce que ça te permet d'avoir un réseau de contacts dans la communauté juridique québécoise si c'est vers là que tu veux t'enligner aussi.
Are you talking about the expenses? Yeah, so the faculty does cover, this is true for all moots. So the faculty, we cover obviously your registration to participate in the moot. We cover your accommodation and your travel expenses. Specifically for the VIS, you have a per diem for your meals. For the other moots, a lot of your meals, when it's in person obviously, a lot of your meals are covered by the competition because you have cocktails, you have breakfasts and whatnot. That's what I understand. I've been doing this a few years, so that's the feedback we've received from students. You also have $100 for printing services as well. And am I forgetting anything?
No, I don't think we want
Yeah,
it.
okay. So yeah, so McGill does cover your costs to participate. Sorry?
Oh no, we were just saying that we did get $100 for printing. I don't even think we ended up using ours. We mostly printed at our homes, but I really do think the faculty, they want you to succeed and they will provide financing in a way that helps you succeed, I guess.
So I just wanted to highlight three little points in terms of the timeline. So we usually look at your applications end of May, early June. So by mid-June, you should receive an email from me or from the Student Affairs Office, and you do hear either way. In terms of your, I guess, evaluating your application, so again, you know, it's the benchmark, the 2.7 Cgpa, your ranking on your tryout, that also comes into play. And the other thing is, and again, it varies from year to year. There have been years where everybody put the VIS as their first choice, you know, so that becomes very competitive. There are years where, you know, the Winkler was like, you know, everybody's top two choice. So again, that becomes very competitive. So we do look at your CGPA, we do look at your CV, we look at how you ranked on your tryout. And ultimately, you know, we do have about anywhere between 40 and 44 spots. So we do try to find a spot for everyone to participate in a moot. There have been times where, like this year, we had two moots, students who've approached us about two moots that were being offered completely remotely, and one of them was actually free. So we were able to, you know, send two more students. We had two extra students participate in a moot. So we do try. You know, to give everybody an opportunity to participate in a moot. So please be patient with us, and we hope, you know, you all apply as of tomorrow. Any other questions?